Blake?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're here this afternoon in State of Ohio versus Elliot Ambrose, case number 25CR465. We are set for a sentencing here today, Your Honor. Mr. Ambrose is present, represented by counsel Mr. Chad Mulkey. Your Honor, prior to today, Mr. Ambrose pled guilty to count 2 and count 5 of the indictment. That is a burglary, a felony of the second degree, and an OVI, a misdemeanor of the first degree. Your Honor, a pre-sentence report and psychological evaluation were ordered by this court. Those evaluations have been completed. At this time, it is apparent that Mr. Ambrose has been in jail for 81 days since the date of this offense. However, I think the court is aware he's also received that credit on a Painesville municipal court violation, probation violation, I should say. The state has had the opportunity to review the pre-sentence report and psychological report, and the state is prepared to proceed to sentencing here this afternoon.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're prepared to go forward. Your Honor, my client is 28 years old. He's no stranger to the justice system in general, and specifically to this court, and specifically to Your Honor. He has served a prior prison sentence, so he knows what that life is all about, certainly. You add to the fact that he's been treating for getting some mental help at Signature Health. He'd like to continue to do that. He began transitioning from female to male at age 19. There's stress from undergoing that sort of procedure and those considerations, and specifically those sorts of stresses, as might be expected, would be reaction from some friends, some associates, acquaintances, and of course one's own family. Substance abuse with alcohol and cocaine. Alcohol since the age of 18, cocaine since the age of 19. One of his charges that he pled to was OVI. He was impaired. An individual that he had prior relationship with, an individual named Skyla Tenney, he was going to check on. He had met with her earlier the same day, as a matter of fact. Your Honor, when I asked him how he could have handled this situation differently rather than go somewhere at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, a place where he didn't know anybody, to see that she was there and see how she was doing, he did indicate upon a sober reflection that he should have simply, if he was concerned, call the authorities and have some sort of welfare check done. But he took the matter into his own hand with his alcohol exacerbating that situation. Your Honor, his game plan for the future is to maintain and focus on a new relationship that he is in with a Donnell cook. He also is gainfully employed at Hub Plastics in Geneva, Ohio. He does have a game plan where he'd like to attend Turning Point in Ashtabula through Lake Area Recovery Centers when a bed is available. So perhaps some continued local incarceration until such time as a bed becomes available for that facility. Also, Your Honor, liaison from our office has been in contact with Impact Therapeutics located in Andover. Now, I'm not personally familiar with what services and program that is, Your Honor, but again, he has shown initiative and willingness to do these things, Your Honor, and other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. Certainly, you can have a dialogue with my client, and perhaps he's got some more to say on the subject of his sentencing. But he is asking to not go to prison, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, what do you want to tell me before I impose sentence?
I would like to tell you that I had no malicious intent on the night of the incident. Prior to that, about a month before, Skyla had called me out of the blue. I hadn't spoke to her in about a year. In that year, I got my license back. In 7 years, I got it back on my birthday. I bought a car. I haven't owned a car in, I couldn't even tell you how many years. I got almost $5,000 out of debt. I was on the right path, and Skyla called me out of the blue about a month before this incident and said that she was having problems with her ex-boyfriend and she needed a place to live, so I had her move into a friend's house, and the day of the incident she called me and said that she had no food, so I took her and her daughter out to breakfast, and she said she was going home. And about a week before that, every day she was calling me saying this guy was sitting at her job and that night she said she was going home, and she didn't end up going home. So I took it upon myself to make sure that she was okay, and that is why I'm here today. But I would like a second chance. I think I was on the right path, and every time I talk to Skyla, I come back to jail. So I really, truly do not want to talk to her.
That's a real shock, isn't it? I mean, how long have you been dealing with this?
For too long, Your Honor. Too long.
And how many times were you told not to have contact?
Too many. Honestly,
Right.
too many. I do know that the last time I was incarcerated, I would pay people so I could use their phone pin to talk to her. I've been incarcerated for 81 days and have not even thought about contacting her because I care about my life more than I do hers. And in the past, I cared about her life more than my own.
So isn't the problem here that you busted in this house and assaulted somebody? You know, how much more serious does it get than that?
Your Honor, I didn't assault nobody.
What did you do? Tell me what you did.
I banged on the door for about 5 minutes. I opened the door because it was unlocked, and I got attacked by the mother. If you look at the pictures, her knuckles were bloody. And I had a black eye. She had no other marks than her knuckles. I let her hit me all she wanted because I didn't know her, man, honestly. And then her son pulled out a gun and I left.
You get a different story from her when the police responded. So you never went in the house?
No, I did go in the house one time. I did open the door, and that's why I pled to a burglary, because that's technically a burglary, opening the door. But I walked in the door, and we were both panicked because
Whose house was it?
I don't even know.
And why did you do it?
Because I thought I truly had the intent that Skyla wasn't okay. Looking back on it, I should have never went.
And you had that thought, why?
Because every day prior she was calling me saying that her ex was sitting at her job and she was afraid, and I worked third shift so I couldn't do anything to help her.
How did you know where she was?
She would call me and tell me where she was.
She called you that
Oh,
night?
that night?
Right.
I'm sorry. A couple weeks prior to that, she gave me her Snapchat location and said, if anything happens to me, now you have my locations. And she was the only person I ever shared locations with.
So what information did you get with regard to that location?
She was at an unknown location.
Okay, so how did you know where to go?
Because in the Snapchat location, you hit the button and say, direct me here. And it all you do is have to hit your friend's location, and it'll give you directions on how to get there.
So you showed up at somebody's house, you had no idea who it was. At what time?
It was probably like 3 a.m., Your Honor.
And you go in the house. You demand to go in the house, you go in the house. When the door was open, did you recognize the person who opened the door?
No, I was in complete shock. I think we were both in shock, and I just kept saying, "Where's Skylar?"
I'm sure that Sherry was in shock at 3:48 in the morning.
Yes, Your Honor.
So the second time, after you get pushed out the first time, you begin to punch Sherry, right? Or no?
Your Honor, I only walked in the house one time. Her son pulled a gun, and I left.
Well, Sherry reports that
I understand.
you entered the front door, she pushed you out, you entered again and began to punch her.
I know what it says, but I can promise you, Your Honor, I don't even know her. Why would I lay my hands on her?
I have no idea why you show up at somebody's house
You're
and you go
right.
at 3:48 in the morning either.
You're absolutely right, Your Honor, and looking back on it, I should have never done it.
So you've shown an 8-year pattern of
Of stupidity.
Violence. It's beyond stupidity. Five domestic violences and now this. You seem unable to control what you're doing, which makes you dangerous. After you were released from prison on December 14th of 23, what was the domestic violence and child endangering on January 23rd of 24?
Skylar and I had one out for my birthday. And I accused her of cheating on me, and we got into an altercation, and she pulled off my shirt. When the cops came, they gave me a child endangerment with a sexual matter. Because I still haven't got my top surgery. But it was just an argument, sir.
Blake?
Thank you, Judge. The state at this time, Your Honor, is recommending a prison term of 4 years. Your Honor, we do believe prison is appropriate in this case. Without rehashing all of the facts, I'll just say that the state would submit that the victims in this case and Miss Tenney would have a very different version of how this event went. And the state is concerned that Mr. Ambrose certainly is almost portraying himself as a victim of the homeowner's right to defend their home and defend themselves. And the state is concerned about the lack of recognition here of the true danger and just how dangerous this situation was. But moreover, with respect to why the state believes that the 4-year prison term is appropriate at this time, this situation was a very scary event. It was a very scary situation. It was dangerous. The opportunity here for someone to get hurt was great. Mr. Ambrose seems to not recognize that. It appeared as though he was acting completely out of control. As the court referenced, this was about 3 or 3:30 in the morning, broke into a stranger's home. Now, the homeowner does admit that the door to the home was unlocked, but Mr. Ambrose essentially came into the home in a violent nature, became very aggressive, and was demanding to see Miss Tenney. The homeowner did try. She was actually sleeping on the couch in the living room. She tried to remove Mr. Ambrose. He would not comply with that. Her homeowner's adult son woke up, tried to physically remove him. Mr. Ambrose kept coming back into the house, and finally the homeowner's son had to physically remove him from the home. As far as a gun, Your Honor, what the homeowners tell me is that this was also chaotic for them. They did not have the time to go retrieve a gun, and they were very worried, actually, because the homeowner's 13 or 14-year-old daughter was asleep in just an adjacent room just right around the corner. So the homeowners somehow were able to keep this from escalating to a more violent event. But certainly, going into someone's home at 3:30 in the morning without regard for their right to privacy in their own home, their right to security in their own home, and their right to protect themselves in their own home is a very big concern. The homeowner here reported to me that her neighbors streets away could hear Mr. Ambrose yelling for Miss Tenney. That is how out of control he presented in that moment. And the second thing that the state really thinks is a concern here, Your Honor, is this is an escalation of conduct. Mr. Ambrose started with disorderly conducts, misdemeanor type offenses. Mr. Ambrose has been given many opportunities by this court and other courts. There have been interventions in place. I don't dispute many of the mitigating facts that Mr. Mulkey put on the record. I think all of that is valid. But there have been a lot of people very concerned about Mr. Ambrose and his future and where we go from here. And now I think we're at a point where there might be people in this courtroom that are more concerned about that than Mr. Ambrose himself. It's in his own hands, and at some point there has to be some accountability and there has to be some taking of responsibility for what has happened here. The escalation of criminal conduct over the last 8 years or so is scary, quite frankly, and it's dangerous. So with that said, at this point, Your Honor, given the opportunities that Mr. Ambrose has had in the past, given the events here in this case, state believes that prison is appropriate. We would ask that you impose a term of 4 years, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yep.
Honestly, in any of these cases, I've never been given the chance to do anger management. I can say that 90% of them I was intoxicated of some sort. When I'm not under the influence, I know I'm a good person. And I had 14 months sobriety under my belt. With nothing happened, I was doing good. I don't think prison's gonna do me any better, and I know I was doing good. Like I said, in the last 14 months, I bought a car. I stayed out the way. I should have never answered Skylar's phone when she asked me for help. I know my record looks terrible, and I'm truly sorry for what escalated that night. I really didn't mean for any of it to happen.
Well, your record is terrible, and it, as Ms. Blake said, does indicate an escalation, and only you can rectify your record. Can't be erased, but you got to rectify it. And as I said earlier, the danger is now you're going into somebody's house that you don't know at 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, and bad things happen when strangers enter into houses at 3:30 in the morning. There's nothing, 100 times out of 100, bad things happen. I reviewed the pre-sentence report and the psychological evaluation. I reviewed letters that have been sent in support for you. I've considered all the provisions in 29, 29, 11, 12, and 13. On count 2, the felony of the second degree, there's a presumption that a prison sentence should be imposed, and the circumstances in this case and the record indicates that you have not overcome that presumption. So on count 2, I'm going to impose a sentence of definite minimum term of 2 years up to an indefinite maximum of 3 years in prison. On count 5, a term of 3 days in jail and a $375 mandatory fine and a 1-year license suspension. When you get out, you'll be on post-release control for at least 18 months, up to 3 years with conditions. If you violate the conditions, a parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If the violation's a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months, or the time left under post-release control. The remaining charges are dismissed and the bond is released. Anything else, Ms. Blake?
Your Honor, did you say the fine on the OVI was $375?
Isn't that what, is it 570?
I couldn't hear what you said.
Whatever the minimum is.
Okay.
I think it's 370.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Mulkey?
I'm sorry. What were the days in jail with respect to the license, the driver, the OVI?
3 days in jail.
3 days. Okay. Thank you, Judge. Nothing further.
Adjourn.
All rise.